Good afternoon for those joining us here on the channel. My name is Mike, otherwise known as Alpha Max Gaming. Here we are in Train Simulator, Train Sim World number 4. Train Sim World 4 here, and we are going to get ready to do some Amtrak operations on the Northeast Corridor. As you can see, railways are a dangerous place, and you should never attempt to replicate or copy the activities you see in this game on the real railways. So just a quick safety briefing for everybody here. Of course, do not trespass. If anybody's working on the railway, and they give you directions or instructions, make sure you follow those. And all the, of course, the signs and whatnot. Here we are. We're going to head into the New York Trenton. Now, we're going to use the new timetable, and we're going to play with the ACS-64. I've recorded, this is take 2 of a video that I've recorded previously, and it was, I forget, I believe we were operating the regional, Northeast Regional, I want to say it was the equipment we were operating, and we had some signal malfunctions, some bugs rather. I can't really call them signal malfunctions because it's not simulated in this, but we did have some bugs, unfortunately, and so that kind of cut the video short. So we're going to shoot another video here. We are in the Vermontier service from Trenton to New York. We've got 8 cars on this train, and looks like it's going to be a beautiful day here. Let's go ahead and unlock our doors. We've got the 50th anniversary edition of the Amtrak Phase 3 paint, which is nice. It's looking good. You know the traffic here at Trenton today. We'll go ahead and set up. Let's start with our safety systems. And let's go ahead and bring this forward. We'll go ahead and set up our brakes as well. Switch that to passenger. We can bring this down to navigation. Lights are going to come to on and front headlights going right. Current time now is 10:26. We have departure time of 10:28. And we are all set up and ready to go. Yeah, here we are. Okay. Signal indication ahead of us is giving a limited clear aspect. So that will have us not to exceed 45 miles per hour to the rear of the train clears the interlocking. So what'll happen is after we pull out of this station here, we'll cross over to the express track towards the center of our left there. And then we'll be able to increase our speed up to the 110 miles per hour. I use the term express track. I'm sure that's not the actual term. For those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Mike, and I am not a railroad employee. I'd always wanted to have been one, but I took a left turn, and I work in the airline industry now as a first officer, which, you know, incidentally, there are some, or I guess coincidentally, there are some, a lot of similarities between the way the railroads operate and the way that the airlines operate, especially in terms of safety and regulations. So that's been an interesting thing. I've always been interested in railroad operations and locomotive operations and all of those sort of things since I was a child. Train Sim World 4 provides a nice little insight to how all of that happens, albeit not as realistic as some of us might like, especially when it comes to the operational stuff, but it's pretty neat. Here we are. Doors are closed, brakes are off, we're rolling 30% to get us started with no wheel slip, and then we'll bump her up to about 50 or 60 until we pick up some speed. We're going to pull out here up to 45, cross over, and then we'll bring her on to 110. Max speed on the Northeast Corridor is, I want to say, 125 for this train set, 150 for the Excella, which is pretty neat because the Excella has a cruise control operation, or cruise control knob lever. I'll make a video of that on that another day. Okay, here we are. We're cleared up to 110 track speed. That's going to be regulated by ACES. So once the rear of our train has passed the interlocking, we'll see that 45 mile an hour limit on the upper screen. Switch and jump over to 110. There it is. Bring our power up to about 60. And we will be on our way. Clear signal ahead. That's glad to see. Now, for those that are also simulator enthusiasts and new to this channel, I do have a Discord server. It's fairly new and it's pretty quiet right now, but if you would like to join the Discord server, it's a nice place to hang out for people such as myself who are into the simulators and the business strategy games, the occasional Warzone and Battlefield, of course, Destiny 2. I've also been enjoying Star Citizen as well. So if any of those are of interest to you, Valheim and Fortnite, Lego Fortnite's been pretty fun, and you're looking for some friends to play with, or just hang out and chat, go ahead and join my Discord. It is a very fun, chill, relaxing environment. All are welcome there. We are on our way. Next station stop is going to be Newark Penn Station, track 2. Tells us we got about 32 minutes until we arrive there, and we will be cruising at an average speed of 125 miles per hour. So I anticipate arriving probably a good amount earlier than that. We'll have to be on the lookout for some signals that'll slow us down prior to arriving at that platform there. While we are here, let's see if we can grab a screenshot. Max blast here, 110 miles per hour, approaching 125. Signal indication is clear. We are well on our way. For those of you that are returning to the channel, I hope you're doing well. It's been a long time since I've posted on this channel. I've had a couple big life changes lately between moving and starting a new position with a new airline in the last year and a half. However, we're back now, and I hope to produce some more videos and share some more insight on the airline and railroad operations. We are 124 with a little bit of a uphill climb. Power handles at 38%. So it's interesting in this locomotive when it comes to these gradients. You do need a little bit of power to keep it at speed. If I drop the power off down to 0, I don't know if it's an aerodynamic thing, but even on a level gradient, it will slowly a little bit of speed, which and honestly makes it a little bit easier to control this, if I say so myself. Here we are approaching a 150 speed increase. That'll be for the Acela. You know, it's really interesting. There's certain parts of the northeast corridor, that are speed restricted to about 80 or 90 miles per hour. I'm curious to know exactly how much time is being saved by the Excella train sets. If you know this figure, please go ahead and let me know in the comment section. But with the amount of speed restrictions, the decreases in speed, certain zones for the curvature of the Northeast Corridor, which was built during an era where trains were not moving faster than 100 miles an hour, maybe, or 90 or 80 miles per hour. I'm very curious to know what the average speed of the Excella is and how much time is actually saved by operating the Excella and taking the Excella set versus something like this, Montier or the Northeast Regional or even the Metroliner sets. Realistically speaking, there's really no way to increase the speed limits on the Northeast Corridor without realigning the right-of-way for a more straight point A to point B, which I'm sure is just not realistically possible for these states to accomplish. Well, we're on our way here, 124. Speed limit's 125. Got about another 25 minutes to go. And one of the bugs that I've seen lately has been this doors open indication, which I believe actually ends up turning off when we arrive at a platform. We'll have to go ahead and look for that as we get closer, or as we get into Newark Penn Station. That seems to be a bug, and there's a couple other bugs, some signals that aren't exactly displaying aspects like they should. I believe that some of the scenario creators, or I guess timetable designers, will use the signal indications to force the player to stop at a train station. In other words, as you approach Newark Penn Station, you might have a red signal at the platform, and that's just to get the player to stop at that platform. Whereas as soon as the doors close and you are ready to proceed, then that signal will upgrade to a clear signal. I'm not sure that that's realistic. Here we have an Excella train set on our left-hand side passing right by us. That's pretty neat. I'm not sure that that's super realistic in the real world. I believe that all of these signals are automatic, unless a dispatcher is able to hold a signal manually. I couldn't tell you. Maybe some of you might know and be able to enlighten me on that. Nevertheless, it's still wonderful to have this simulator and these beautiful locomotives and train cars that Dovetail Games has put together for us. I do understand that some of the assets for this route are recycled assets from the original Northeast Corridor, which was from Newark Penn. Actually, you know what? It was from Newark Liberty International Airport to Penn Station. I believe that was Train World 2 when that came out. I know myself and others are hoping for a refurbishment of those assets. Maybe we'll get a third-party developer to be able to create a new Northeast Corridor route. I think what also would be really cool is if we had a Washington, D.C. to Boston full-on all the way through. That would be such a really cool experience, especially if you're operating something like the Excella. I'm curious to know if there's any restrictions on the size of these routes. I am sure that maybe there would be some size limitations. However, if we could see something like that in the future, that would be really, really neat. I know that there are some rumors that are going around about a future Long Island Railroad expansion, and some leaked images of a, I believe it's the M8 or the M9, the Kawasaki electric multiple unit. Very excited to see if that actually happens. I know that the Dovetail has expressed some concerns with licensing, and I guess that's the holdup for the new American route that has been listed on the roadmap. But I guess we will see. That would definitely be really cool to see. I think also a Hudson route, much North Hudson route, all the way up to Croton Harmon, or even to, I believe it goes up to Poughkeepsie, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but wherever the terminus of line is. That'd be pretty neat to see, that coming along with some P32s or even P42s for the Amtrak. I did see on the editor was some creators working on Amtrak on the P42 equipment. They were able to get a P42 in game and a little model of it rather, and have it operate. So it's pretty cool to see that. I don't think we have a packager, I believe that's what it's called, for the editor, which is used to package the contents and distribute it out to other players to be able to download and install. So I'm not sure that that's in play yet, but I'm sure once it becomes in play, it'd be really nice to see a lot of these routes and these creations come into fruition. Well, we're on our way here, 20 minutes to go. Looks like we're going to arrive pretty early. Alerter goes off. We'll go ahead and acknowledge that. 26 miles. I wouldn't be surprised if we arrive about 10 minutes early here. Coming up on a 130, 145, and 125 speed restriction. Well, I'm curious to know from you guys and girls, what has been your favorite content so far for Train Sim World? What have you been operating lately? Which scenarios and sessions have you been enjoying the most? What would you like to see from Train Sim World in the future? And what else are you playing? Go ahead and let me know in the comment section. I'll be sure to respond and or check out whatever suggestions you may have. Still lined up, 125 green signals all the way through as we approach into, I believe this is Metro Park. I can't remember the name of this station that we're coming up here on, but I know that once we pass this area, if I remember correctly, we start getting some speed reductions down to 90 and 80. That's due to the curvature of the track. It's a beautiful day, however. I'm sure as soon as I say that, we'll get some sort of dynamic weather change. That's been a new feature of Train Sim World 4, is the dynamic weather, which has been pretty cool. Sometimes it is unrealistic. There'll be times when you are operating on a clear day, such as this, and all of a sudden it'll go from clear and a million. It's clear and visibility is very far, to super foggy, which is just not really a realistic thing to happen in the span of a mile, or I guess really in the span of a couple minutes. I do welcome it though. It is a nice way to break up the monotonous gameplay of operating train sets, especially in high speed such as this. Here we got a 110 that's approaching us here. Still clear signals on the way. We'll be coming down to 95. Let's go ahead and add some dynamic braking here. This is the combined power handle. And there's the indication telling us to slow down to 110. Let's get her slowed down a little bit more before we get a penalty. There's the 110 we're within, and the next one is going to be 95. That'll bring us around the corner, I believe, in Elizabeth, and then we'll be able to speed up again. So we'll keep the dynamic brakes in. So what the dynamic brakes are doing right now is with the combined power handles, we are actually inverting. I use that term loosely. I'm sure hopefully that's how you would describe it, but we are inverting the traction motors that are attached to the axles propelling us forward. We're inverting these traction motors to go ahead and apply some electromagnetic friction in the opposite direction of where the wheels are turning, thus creating energy that is actually, I believe, I'm not sure if this locomotive does, but some of them do, will return that energy back into the pantographs and into the electrical system, the electric grid. So we're basically using the traction motors as a way to slow the train down. That will reduce the wear and tear of the brakes on the locomotive and the train set itself. Really convenient for when you're making these small speed reductions. I believe it's also a much more comfortable experience for the passengers, if I recall correctly. So we can bring it back up to 105. We'll hold it there, and then we will increase to 110. 15 minutes to go, 17 miles, clear signals along the way. We are doing pretty good. Okay, we'll hold her off at 105 here through this. I've got both the train alerter safety system, the ATC system, which will handle signals, that's known as automatic train control, and the ACSES, which will enforce track speed restrictions along the line and ensure that we are slowing down within a specific schedule in relation to any curves and speed reductions that we may be approaching. I believe on the actual unit, you'll see a countdown, an ACSCS countdown, where this maximum speed is, and also where it says time to penalty when you do approach a speed reduction. However, it doesn't look like that's simulated in this, I believe in the New Jersey Transit equipment that is simulated. 108, speed limit's 110. We'll keep it around here for a while as we approach Newark Liberty International. Then we'll have to bring her down to, I believe, about 70. And then as we approach Newark Penn, we'll drop down to 35. And we'll use air for that in addition to the power handle. $13 miles to go. Well, you know, I'm a huge fan of this new UI display, this minimal HUD. I'm really enjoying this. I think this has been one of the best improvements, features that Train Sim World 4 has introduced. It really gives you all the relevant information, the speed, the momentum, the distance to your next station, and in the right-hand corner, we can also see distance to the next speed restriction, which has been the most difficult part for me. I'm not sure how these guys and girls actually do it on the railroad, but trying to remember all of these speed increases and decreases, and doing that, and then on top of that, any sort of temporary speed restrictions that are in place due to construction or degraded rail quality. I just think that's fascinating how they're able to remember all that. That's a unique skill, I would imagine. I do wish there was a way to get rid of the points. Let's see if there is actually. There it is. Okay, Control 6. answered my own question here. So Control 6, that will get rid of all of the points in the upper right-hand corner. I'm not really interested in the gameplay points. Here we are, 125 increase here, so we're going to give her max power. Roll on 125 for a while before we have to slow down as we go through Newark Liberty International. So there's our first slow down there. So we're going to go ahead and let's go about 40 or 50% dynamic braking. Let's start with that for now. We've got a little under 3 miles to go. And we're going to lose 60 miles per hour. Yeah, that's how much speed we need to lose. So we'll go ahead and start with that. As we get closer, if I need to, then I'll add a little bit of air on top of it. But it looks like we're good for now. And I believe that this speed reduction down to 80, this if I remember correctly, is where we go through Elizabeth and North Elizabeth, and we'll be able to speed back up. Okay, here we're approaching 100 miles per hour, slowing down for the 80. Prior to the curve, that warning that we just got should be displaying 80 on this here, which it's not doing. That's why we got that indication. So these are some of the bugs that I'm hoping Dovetail Games will see. There it is. Hoping Dovetail Games will rectify. We'll add a little bit more just to get us to 80 prior to passing the signal here. And it looks like we will meet it. There we go. All right. We'll hold 80 until we are able to speed up here. We'll get an 85 and a 110 right after. This I believe, is one of the sharpest curves in the northeast corridor. I'm really curious to know what the history is behind this curve as well, why they weren't able to just completely go straight. There's 85, we'll go ahead and increase there. There's our 110 once we pass the curve, the rear end of the train, then we'll be able to get to the 110. There's the 110, and we will bring her back up full max blast on the power. And now as we approach Newark Liberty International Airport, we will be on the lookout for some signal downgrades that'll slow us down. Got a 70 that's approaching 2.5 miles away, so we can go ahead and let's go ahead and bring her back down. We'll go about 40%, should be good. Let's go about 50% now. Got a little bit of a hill here. For this, I might need to give her some air. We'll increase that to about 65%. Dynamic braking. If we're not about 80 in the next couple seconds, then I might give her a couple pounds of air. This 70, I believe, is going to be just prior, or actually I believe it's just after the station stop here. Newark Liberty International Airport. Not to be confused with Newark Penn Station, which is also not to be confused with New York Penn Station. Often on my commute to work, I see a lot of passengers confusing all three. Looks like we'll be good for the 70 at the signal. Bring her back up, let her coast. Add just a little bit of power. Maintain the speed on 70, and I believe the next reduction is going to be at 35. We should also get some signal aspects here as we'll be crossing over. We're going to track 2, which I believe is in the center. Next one, yep, there it is at 35, so we will go ahead and bring this back to about 50% for dynamic braking. As we slow down, we will most likely receive an approach limited, which will slow us to 45, and then a medium clear, which will give us a 30 restriction as we cross over the junction. $10.55, there's our approach limited. That's yellow over flashing green. That tells us to slow to 45 miles an hour. We'll get the indication on the cab here shortly. We should have received it back there. So it looks like there's a little mismatch of the signals here. So as we cross this, we'll get that. There it is. And the actual cab indication is approach medium, not approach limited. So approach medium is going to tell us to slow down to 30 miles an hour, which makes sense because the next signal after that is going to be medium clear. We'll hold 30. Here's our medium clear. It's a red over green. Proceed not exceeding 30 miles an hour until the rear of the train clears the interlocking. So we'll just hold this. We'll cross over. And this is where another bug is. I mean, you can see it again. This should be showing a medium clear with a speed restriction of 30. We'll probably update as we get over the next transponder up here. 10:56, 11:02 is the arrival time, and we are doing pretty good. Arriving just a little bit early. Approach medium. Okay, we'll take that. And there's the approach medium for 35. Speed restriction. We'll give her about 5 pounds. And we will go ahead and let the passengers know that we are arriving. Bell indication. Restricted speed. We'll have to make sure we get down below 20, otherwise it'll give us a penalty application on that. Looks like there's a New Jersey Transit on the adjacent platform arriving. And we'll stop right where that E is, indication for the engine. Bell's coming off. We'll go ahead and open up the right-hand side. And I'm going to take a look and see. Doors open. See, now this says doors closed. So it looks like that's definitely a bug. Additionally, this is what I was talking about before. When we arrived at the platform, we had a red signal indication, which was forcing us to stop, which I'm sure is what the game wants us to do. Sure. However, I don't think that would be accurate in the real world. Not a big deal. I'm happy either way. This might be a good opportunity to get some screen grabs here. Let me see. Let's do one like this. That's a good one. And it doesn't look like many people are disembarking. So this station, as well as Newark Liberty International, when you're operating to New York Penn Station, these are discharge platforms only. I don't know that they'd hold us here. If this is a discharge, I don't know that they'd hold us here according to the schedule. But passengers are not allowed to board the train. And the reason for that is Jersey Transit operates on these tracks as well. So ideally you'd want, passengers to use the Jersey Transit system sponsored by the state as opposed to Amtrak. It'd also be infinitely cheaper. It's only about, I believe, $6 or $7 in that regard. Another cool, interesting fact now, this is the old Newark Penn Station from Train Sim World 2, so it's not modeled super accurately. I think hopefully one day we'll get a better version of it. But additionally, these tracks over here with the third rail, those belong to the PATH subway system. That is operated by, if I'm correct, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. And there, in actual real life, there's a gate that will, a fence that will go from the floor to the ceiling with turnstiles so that you are able to pay the fare, I want to say $2.90, maybe $2.75, if I remember correctly, for the path. And if I am also correct, I believe the second, so this one is going to New York, and then the second platform must be above, and that one is going passengers arriving from New York. I believe that's the case. I could be completely wrong. Not super familiar. If you are, please let me know in the comments. Either way, here we are, Amtrak in Locomotive 662. This locomotive does exist in the real world. This is the Amtrak Phase 3 livery, which has been my favorite livery of all time. The modeling on this ACS-64 is pretty exceptional. Very detailed. The decals and the texturing is phenomenal. I can't speak for the sound systems. I'm not sure what the real world sound systems sound like, and I generally operate with a lot of those engine noises and whatnot turned down just a little bit, just because they can get a little bit annoying sometimes. But this is a pretty looking locomotive. The Amfleets as well. These are Amfleet 1s. You can tell that they're Amfleet 1s because, you can tell that they're Amfleet 1s because they have two doors on both sides, whereas the Amfleet 2 coaches were improved, larger windows, and only have one door per side to improve space and add a little bit more passenger seating in the cabin. I believe these were ported over from Train Sim World 2. I wish that there was a little bit more reflectivity on the material. I'm pretty sure that Unreal Engine can support that. Maybe we'll see it if they ever update to Unreal Engine 5. But nevertheless, it's still very beautiful looking. I mean, these are some of the best looking Amtrak equipment in any train simulator currently, which is, I don't want to say it's not saying a lot, but train simulators, when it comes to compared to what Flight Simulator has done, train simulators in all regards are substantially behind the 8 ball. Okay, here we are back, and let's go ahead and lock up on the right hand side and make our way into New York Penn Station. Next stop, we'll have a few signals to look out for as we approach New York Penn Station. 21 minutes, we're definitely going to arrive early in that regard. Brakes are off, let's give her 30 and be on our way. Clear signal ahead. 20 is the restriction now. Once we get past that signal, I'm sure it'll improve up to our speed, our track speed limit of 35. this bridge that we are crossing over. I forget the name of this bridge. There's the approved, so we'll go to 35. And there's the 45. We'll take that and proceed on along the way. I forget the name of this bridge, but this bridge has been, at least during my time commuting years ago, notorious for failing and being stuck. This substation that you see on the right-hand side over here actually does exist in real life. I'm not sure that it's operational. Until I passed by it, I noted a lot of broken windows. Here you can see the flyover tracks for the... I just missed that signal indication. I believe that was a slow signal. I guess we'll find out momentarily. So you can see the flyover tracks for the PATH train, subway train. It'd be cool if we had those actually modeled and operating on the side. That'd be pretty neat. 45 is the restriction. We'll have that until we pass this signal here, then it'll give us a clear, and we'll be able to increase to 60. Another neat thing that I think they've added into this that enhances a little bit of realism. There's our 60, 45 until we pass. We're going to go 60 here. On the right-hand side, in the real world, you'll notice this is kind of a little layup area for equipment, and I believe they usually have a backup locomotive, single locomotive, and a single cab car attached. I want to say it's just there on standby in case something fails. So I've noticed that every time I pass by in the real world, it's there, and it looks like they've added it as well. You can see there's our single locomotive and single cab car just hanging out there. I'd like to think that it's a backup in case something goes wrong with some other equipment. If anybody has any information on that, please let me know. Very curious in that regard. Okay, approaching 60 with a little bit of an increase in the hill. I'll keep the power up. And here we are flying over tracks that are going to head towards the Hoboken terminal. Hoboken. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hoboken. Let me the power back here. The tracks that we are on are original Pennsylvania Railroad and also the Erie Lackawanna, I want to say. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. These were Pennsylvania Railroad, shared also with the Central Railroad of New Jersey, which is where the Newark Penn Station was built for. The tracks that lead towards the Hoboken terminal were built for the Erie Lackawanna. Those were shared by the Baltimore and Ohio, if I remember correctly. Maybe a few other ones. I think Central New Jersey also went to that terminal as well. So those two lines have a lot of history and are connected here. As we approach this bridge, bring our power back and go into suppression as we approach the 60. That was ACES warning me, hey, you're going too fast. You need to be slowing down to 60 miles an hour prior to reaching the signal right up here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right. And we can go ahead and bring our power. Now, as you approach the bridge, we'll whistle. If I remember correctly, that is approach medium. Here we go. We'll add just a little bit of brakes here, get her into suppression, acknowledge, and bring her down to 30. And it looks like we'll be crossing over at some point here. Oh, this could be a little bit of a signal Train Sim World 4-ism, so to speak, where it slows us down and then clears us shortly after. Anyways, as I was saying previously, if I remember correctly, crossing bridges and entering tunnels. See, that's there you go. Now it just gave us a clear indication. Back up to 90. So I don't think that's realistic. I don't think that would actually happen in the real world. But we'll go ahead and take it. We'll go up to 90. We'll be brought back down to, I believe, 70 or 60 prior to reaching the tunnel. Crossing bridges, tunnels, and crossing bridges, entering tunnels, and crossing railroad crossings, road crossings. I believe we have to sound our horn. The 2 long, 1 short, 1 long with the bell as we're crossing through. I want to say that's a requirement, a railroad safety requirement. I could be wrong. I've seen it on YouTube videos. There's one specific YouTube channel that I recommend everybody that's a railroad enthusiast check out. His name is Spur Gaming. Let me see if I've got that correct. I don't want to mess this up. So this is giving us another speed reduction, and then it goes back to clear. So that's just not realistic in the real world. I'm hoping that Dovetail Games is able to sort that out. Speed restriction of 75 and 60 approaching. The YouTube channel that I think everybody should check out is Spur Gaming. That's actually his the full YouTube channel. It's SPUR space gaming. He is a former railroad employee, conductor with vast knowledge of the railroad operation, the rules, the things that you can expect. There's a lot of fun listening to him. He plays multiple games, Train Simulator, Train Sim World, some of the other ones, Grenade, and is able to give really good insight. We're going to go ahead and bring some dynamic braking, slow us down to 60, and we'll go ahead and put her in suppression again. It'll clear us here in a moment. Here we're just going to bring it down to 30. Enter the tunnel. There's a railroad crossing here too. There's a street crossing. Alright, so it's mad because I am going too fast. We've got an ATC penalty for the overspeed, which is not a problem. As soon as we pass 30, I'll be able to clear it, and now I can release my oh no, it's not going to let me do it. Okay, so now that we have gotten a penalty, we're going to bring the reverser. Let's go ahead and apply some brakes here. Oh, looks like the penalty cleared. Okay, we'll keep going. So we've got a penalty because we received that 30 and we didn't slow down or have enough brakes in time. That's okay, I'll take that because we are operating a little bit early here, about 10 minutes early, and I don't think any of the passengers will. Still embarrassing. Nonetheless, I believe these are some of the bugs that need to be addressed for Dovetail Games. Generally speaking, if I understand correctly, we should have received a slowdown from the clear signal, slow degrade down to the 30. I don't think we just automatically get a straight 30, you know. And additionally, I don't think that we've seen any of the signal indications. The actual signal heads display that as well. So there was not a lot of notice there. Now we will approach. I will warn you that last time I did one of these, there was a train set, full-on train set that was right in front of me here in the tunnel. So we will be looking out for that. We'll keep it at 30, but we'll be looking out for that. And if there is one, maybe we'll do some movie magic with our sandbox boat to be able to clear the route for us to arrive to our platform. But hey, what can I say? You know, Dovetail tries their best, and they do as much as they can with the tools that they have at hand. And I am very thankful for the work that Dovetail has done and the changes that they've made. I didn't mean to put her into the moment. We'll go ahead and add some dynamic and hold us at 30. I'm very worried about running into a train ahead of us. Hopefully no surprises. We'll find out here momentarily. These are one of two tunnels. These are known as the Hudson Tubes. There's one here and there's one to the left of us. These were built, I want to say, in the 1910s. Sometime around that era. Maybe they started construction. It took a while to build. There was some financial issues and whatnot. But they were able to get them completed during Hurricane Sandy, early 2010s. These tunnels were damaged, significantly damaged. The repair on them has been completed to a point where they are operational. However, there are some larger, substantial long-term repairs that need to be completed. The state of New York and the state of New Jersey are currently working on plans and accessing funding to build 2 additional tunnels adjacent to these ones, offset by a mile or so, or maybe a little bit under a mile. These new tunnels will not only provide more capacity, increased capacity to Penn Station, but they will also allow for these 2 tunnels, these Hudson Tubes, to be rehabilitated, refurbished, and brought up to safer standards. The timeline for all of these constructions and repairs, I believe, is going to be over the next decade and a half. So, it's really interesting to see these sort of projects that are. So that was an interesting thing there. It just went from clear to approach medium with no indication in the cap, which is fine. We're doing about 26 now. We'll have to slow down at 20 in a moment. It's really interesting seeing all these projects being planned, and at the same time, there's something to be said about the change in which society is undertaking when it comes to commuting from work, working from home, travel patterns, etc. In other words, are we going to be utilizing the New Jersey Transit or Amtrak or rail transportation as much in 5 or 10 years? There's our cab signal indication there. We will go ahead and acknowledge that, and soon it'll give us a restricted. So we're going to go ahead and slow down now to 20. Won't take us much as we go uphill now. Now, that previous comment that I made, I don't want that to be misconstrued as me not supporting these projects, these public projects specifically. I do just want to introduce that sort of conversation on the use of tax billions. We're talking about billions of taxpayer dollars being used for projects that are 10 or 15 years in the works. We won't see the return of these projects for a very long time, and so I'd like to bring in that side of the conversation and get input and see what others think. I would love to see the increase of road travel, and would love to see better technology, maybe something similar to what the Bright Line is doing in South Florida, or maybe even what some rail operators are doing in Europe, in Spain, and in France, where you have several levels of service. If you want the fancy first class experience, you're able to find a railroad that will give you that, and if you want the economy, coach experience, you're able to have a railroad that can do that. I'm not sure that Amtrak is the solution for all that. I think I've had my personal issues with Amtrak, and I haven't had a fantastic experience with Amtrak, but it would be cool to see more operators in the private sector able to provide some of these experiences, such as Brightline has done both in Florida and in what they're planning for Brightline West over in California. Here we are exiting the Hudson Tubes into New York's Penn Station. Clear signals along the way. I'll bring my headlights down to dim, and as we approach the platform, we'll go ahead and throw our bell on. Here we go. The use of horns is not permitted in these tunnels unless it's an emergency, from what I understand. Bell will indicate to the passengers both aboard the train set and at the platform that we are preparing to stop. We've got green signals. It's a little bit difficult to see in these tunnels. In the real world, it's not that difficult to see in the tunnel. There's a bunch of lights everywhere, and the tunnel does not look like this at all. It's another thing that I do hope Dovetail is able to fix, or not fix, I guess, improve or update. For this simulator, I do caution as you're coming through these tunnels to be very mindful of these signals. There's so many, and it's easy to pass a signal at danger. There's another bug here where we will go from a green signal to a restricted signal to a stop signal, and it might give us a brake application. There's the approach medium. Here's going to be the restricted. And then it might even give us a stop here as we approach this. Hopefully not. I received the penalty application previously for this. We're arriving on time now. 11:21 was our arrival time. 11:20 is it. And I'm going to go ahead and bring her to a stop right here. There's our stop indication. Now, if you pass that signal right there, that would be... There it is. That would be a... that was coming off. That'd be a failure. That would truthfully be a signal passed at danger, which, again, I'm not sure is realistic. I don't think that you would have a red signal on the middle of the platform there. Regardless, this is where Dovetail wants us to stop, and so we shall. It even told us as we were approaching the signal that we got a penalty for overspeed. This is what I was speaking about here, which is okay. I think we're done with those. And we are all set. I believe that concludes this service here. Let's go ahead and take a look how we did. Performance breakdown. Took us about 55 minutes. We will take a gold star. Some of these will show, even more statistics. I'm not sure how or why that happens. But regardless, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for joining us. If you've made it this far, please go ahead and click the like button. Subscribe if you like what you're seeing. More importantly, in the description is the link to my Discord if you'd like to join and hang out as we play Train Sim World or Flight Simulator for some group flights, or even Star Citizen. Or if you just want to join the community and hang out, I welcome you and invite you to join. But for now, take care, and we will see you in the next video.